In this video, we're going to show you how to install sway bar bushings on your Kia Sorento located on the rear portion of the engine cradle. Using a 21mm socket, go ahead and loosen and remove your lug nuts. Go ahead and grab that wheel, remove it, and set it aside. And you're going to do the same on the other side. Now across the front portion here, we're going to have a series of these plastic push pins. There's 4 of them to be exact. On our particular model, it has a little Phillips head center button on it that you unscrew. Then you can use your trim tool to help you get that out the rest of the way, or at least a bit of the way. And then you go underneath the base and pop it out. Go ahead and do that for the other 3. Once you have these 4 out, there's going to be 6 12mm bolts. There's one here, 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 and then right here, and one in the back. Let's now go ahead, loosen, and remove those. Now on our particular model vehicle, or this vehicle, we're missing one right here. Hold that cover while you remove that last bolt. Slide out from underneath the bumper cover itself. Pull it out and set it aside. Now that we have our front splash shield removed, we're now going to use our 19mm socket and an impact gun. We want to loosen the 2 front bolts on our engine cradle. Now what we're using here is our pole jack. I'm using a block of wood, that way that evenly disperses the pressure here. And we're in the center of the rear portion of our cradle. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slightly apply a little bit of pressure upward. We need to go ahead and support the rear portion of our cradle. We're now going to go ahead and loosen and remove the 2 bolts on the rear of our cradle. These are both 19mm. Make sure that the front bolts are still in. They're just loose just a little bit. That's going to allow the cradle to tip down in the back, giving us access to the bushing bolts. Now we removed our bolts. If you want to, you can test this out, leave it in probably a few threads on both sides. We may be able to get that amount of room to gain access to those bolts, but it is going to be really tight. Let's go ahead and start to lower down our pole jack. And if your cradle doesn't want to come down any further, you might want to loosen up those front bolts a little bit more. That's going to allow this to tilt back. I'm going to thread these in a little bit further until it touches that cradle and loosen up the front bolts a little bit more. And you're going to do this back and forth just to get this to tilt down. Now you can use your pry bar and pull down. That's going to give us some flexibility here. Do this on both sides. Now the 2 bolts we need to remove, one here and there's one right here, and it has a metal clamp over the top. I'm going to use a 14 millimeter with a swivel head ratchet to go ahead and get up and over the top here. Now it's going to take some time, and we can go ahead and spray the threads on this one again too. Let this soak in. But we're going to continue doing this until we can get these bolts completely removed. Remove that bolt, and we have our sway bar bushing clamp right here. Now that we have our bolt and our clamp removed, let's go ahead and do the same for the driver's side. Then we can lift up on the bar, remove our bushings, and get those installed. Now once you get the clamp off the other side, you're going to be able to go ahead and lift up that sway bar. And the bushing itself is going to have a split in it. You're going to open up that bushing. There you go, peel it off and then remove it. So there's that split. Once you get those bushings off, you can go ahead and clean the sway bar itself. Now when doing a job like this here, you want to inspect the sway bar itself as well. Check the overall condition, see if it's rusty or corroding, anything like that. If it is rusted and it looks like it's starting to come apart a little bit, you need to go ahead and replace this. This is a safety feature on a vehicle, so you don't want to risk this breaking while you're driving. Ours looks like it's in really good shape, so we're going to go ahead and take our bushing and slide that into place. What you're going to do is split that bushing, slide it over, lift this up. And you're going to do the same on the other side. Now we went ahead and we put a little bit of lithium grease on the inside of our bracket here. Slide that up and over. All right. Now at this point here, we're going to do the same on the other side. Then we just need to position our sway bar. Without it bolted down, you have left and right movement as well as front and back. So at this point, get the other side put in, and then you want to get your bolts started. Now we went ahead and cleaned up all 4 of our bolts in our wire wheel machine, making sure all of our threads were clean. Should make it easier for us to install. Now at this point here, we just need to go ahead and get our bolt lined up here, and we're going to move this around until we can get that lined up and threaded in. Now in doing this job here, it's going to be handy to have a small mirror to go ahead and look up and over so you can identify where the bolt hole is instead of just dragging it all around and trying to find that threaded hole there. Using a mirror, you can identify it quickly and get that bolt started. Now once you get that caught a few threads, I'm going to go ahead and use my ratchet, and I'm going to run that down a few more. I don't want to tighten it. I just want to make sure that's good and secure. Once that's lined up, the forward bolt should line up fairly easy. Go ahead and do the same there. Once you have that in several threads, I'm going to go ahead and get the driver's side going as well. Now that we have all 4 of our bolts installed on our clamps, next thing you want to do is make sure that your sway bar is slid all the way over to the driver's side. And there is a metal collar or part of the sway bar itself that has a steel collar on here. This collar should be pressed up against the rubber bushing on the bracket itself for the hold down. So that way there you know that this is centered If you tighten everything down and this is not up against this sway bar is going to be further over to the right, and it could cause issues with the operation of the sway bar. So before you tighten them down, get underneath here, push it over up against the bushing, and then you can go ahead and tighten and torque. Once we have all 4 of our bolts in, let's go ahead and tighten them down. And once you get all 4 of these tightened down, you want to go ahead and torque these down to 40 foot-pounds. If you have the ability to do so, go ahead and torque them. If not, you want to make sure that they're really tight by hand. Now that you have everything tightened and torqued on your sway bar bushings, go ahead and use your jack. We're going to go ahead and raise that cradle back up into position. Tighten your bolts. Make sure these are good and tight. Let's go ahead and tighten up the front ones. Let's now remove our jack off of the cradle. Go ahead and grab your splash shield, and we're going to fit the tabs up underneath our bumper cover. Do that across the whole front. Once we have this lined up, I'm going to go ahead and take one of the bolts and get it installed in the front center. I'm just going to run it in a few threads. Once we have that in, I'm going to go ahead and install the other bolts around the perimeter. If you have any missing hardware, be sure to go ahead and source some replacements so you can make sure that the splash shield is secured properly. Now these just need to be snugged down. Now, if your vehicle has a rear splash shield on it and it attaches to this here, be sure to go ahead and attach it accordingly. This is all our vehicle had when it came in, so we don't have anything else to attach it to here. Go ahead and install your push buttons there. Now these can get brittle, they get deformed. If they do, it's a good time to go ahead and replace them. So basically you're pushing in the base and then take the center, you can push it in. Go ahead and grab that wheel, line it up onto those wheel studs. Let's go ahead and get our lug nut started. Now once we get all of these started, we're going to come back and snug them all down. Let's go ahead and torque down our lug nuts to 75 foot-pounds. You want to do this in a crisscross pattern. And you're going to do the same on the other side. And you're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.